Now, read the translation again. The great sages said, the male is a plenary expansion of the power of Lord Vishnu, who maintains the entire universe, and the female is a plenary expansion of the goddess of fortune, who is never separated from the Lord. Chapter title, King Prithu's Appearance and Coronation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So this chapter discusses about the appearance of Prithu Maharaj and his eternal consort Archi. If you recollect from the previous chapters, we see how King Vena was not a very virtuous king, and because of that the sages, they cursed him to death, and from his body and precisely from his arms they started churning, and from there two great personalities appeared. One is King Prithu and second is his eternal. Prabhupada uses the word for Anapayini, inseparable consort. His eternal consort, Archi. And we'll see in the subsequent chapters how they both led their lives first as king and queen, as well as the devotees. Later on you will see when they take Vanaprastha and they go to forest, how they led their lives in a very exemplary way and how they even quit their body. We'll see the description later. Prabhupada, in the purport, he mentions specifically about the goddess of fortune. Prabhupada would often say, Lakshmi ji is known as Chanchala. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna. If you remember in 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, mind is very turbulent. Chanchala means Lakshmi ji's position is also like that. She becomes restless if she is separated from her Lord. So her name is known as Chanchala. But Prabhupada is also giving the remedy. People are generally very fond of being rich, keeping goddess of fortune with themselves. But if they follow the path of Ravana, that's what he tried to do. He tried to keep only Sita Devi but without Lord Ram. Then the process of separation will vanquish them. So in modern days also we can see people, when they have an overwhelming amount of wealth and they don't know how to enjoy it, they get into a lot of bad habits. Even before their wealth runs out, their whole life will run out. On the other hand, Prabhupada says, if somehow one engages Lakshmi ji in the service of the Lord, then one can continue to be in their opulent position without disturbance. This also we can see in modern day times. There are many rich people who engage their wealth for many philanthropic reasons and they lead their lives peacefully. Normally when we come across a statement like this where it is said, Lakshmi ji, she is the Shakti of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, energy of the Lord. When we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the purport is, O Supreme Lord, O energy of the Lord. O Supreme Lord, please engage me in your service. So when it comes to understanding about Lakshmi ji, it's very easy for us to appreciate that she is the energy of the Lord and she has to be engaged in the service of the Lord. But then when we direct that same understanding towards us, we have to do some open heart surgery. We are also energy of the Lord. Supreme Lord has got three energies: Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti and Tatastha Shakti. Antaranga Shakti means internal potency. Shubhadra Maharani, internal potency. Bahiranga Shakti, Durga Devi, external energy. And we come in between. So we are known as Tatastha Shakti. Antaranga Shakti is doing their duty properly to increase the pleasure of the Lord. Tatastha Shakti, I don't see any problem with Durga Devi doing her duty. Problem comes for us in the marginal place. We are neither here nor there, and that puts us in a very dangerous position. Firstly, we are always in identity crisis, and secondly, even when we are in identity crisis, we are not engaging ourselves fully. We are neither fully assisting Durga Devi, nor are we fully assisting Tulsi Maharani or Shubhadra Maharani. I remember I was once thinking, when water is going waste, we say, this is nature's energy, we should not waste it, correct? When you leave your room without switching off the fan or light, your parents may say, even you may say, tell to your kids, hey, don't waste the energy, switch it off. What about this energy? How much are we wasting our own energy? Position of Lakshmi Ji, it's given, even if you read Gopi Gita, the very first verse, Jayati Dedikam Janmana Vraja Shrayata Indira Shashvadatrahi. O Supreme Lord Krishna, this whole land of Vrajabhumi has become very glorious. Why? Jayati Dedikam Janmana. You have appeared in this place. Simply by taking birth on this place known as Vrindavana, the place has become glorious. How glorious? It is so glorious, Shrayata Indira. That Indira means Lakshmi Ji. Lakshmi Ji herself comes here. The same Lakshmi Ji who we say is Chanchala Shrayata Indira Shashvadatrahi. Shashvad means permanent. It is so glorious that the Supreme Goddess of Fortune herself is coming and sporting on this land of Rajabhumi permanently. Shashvad Atrahi. She is present here permanently. So Lakshmi Ji, she is always there with the Lord. But when we follow as Gaudiya Vaishnavas in the footsteps of Lakshmi Ji, in the footsteps of Srimati Radharani, we should also learn to engage ourselves fully. Agastya Muni built a temple in a place called Kalahasti in Rajasthan, Krishna temple. And to do that, he engaged the service of two other sages who are his friends, Bhrigu Muni and Bharadwaj Muni. So he told them the plan. Everyday laborers would come. They would offer their services. At the end of the day, he instructed Bhrigu Muni and Bharadwaja to line up all the laborers. They will stand in a queue, and as they come forward, Bhrigu and Bharadwaj will give them only one handful of sand. And they would cup their hands and they would hold the sand which they are dropping. In proportion to the quality of work that they did during the day, to that proportion, those grains of sand would turn to gold. If a person was doing their service 50% of the times and 50% they space out, they'll get only 50% gold coins. Remaining 50% will drop in their hand as sand. If a person completely offered pure devotional service, completely engaged their time, their energy, intelligence, everything, 100% of the grains would turn to gold coins. And if the person is like you and me, they drop handful of grains of sand, what do we get? We just get only sand. There was no partiality in the system. Everyone was very satisfied because everyone knew that if I actually put my effort, I will get the result. In Bhakti, many times we have this concern. Why isn't I'm chanting? I'm coming regularly to the temple. I'm chanting regularly. I'm following every vrata possible. Still, why is it that I'm not experiencing the reciprocation from the Lord? We all have this question. How many of you have this question? Krishna, I don't expect too much. All I'm expecting is just one PR. Okay, if you are a PR citizenship, if you get citizenship, one permanent job, high paying permanent job wherein I don't need to work much, just little, so that rest of the day I can come to your temple and do some gossip. So we have this dream. But we also need to understand from this story, Krishna is always reciprocating. Problem is, are we qualifying ourselves to get that reciprocation to the level of our expectation? Our problem is, we don't want to come out of our comfort zone. We want to stay in wherever we are, and we want Krishna to reciprocate with us as if we are Rupa Goswami. That's a problem. We need to be realistic in our expectations. So as energy of the Lord, Krishna clearly, time and again, you read Bhagavad Gita or you read Srimad Bhagavatam, you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, either Krishna says directly or Krishna's devotees keep saying the same thing again and again. Mam chayo avyabhicharena ananyenaiva yogena. The word repeatedly comes. Satatam kirtayanto mam. Krishna accepts the love, but Krishna accepts not just ordinary love. Krishna wants exclusive love. I was giving this example in Srimad Bhagavatam study we do on Saturday. If you take a couple, married couple, when can we say they both are fully committed to the relationship? When they are not just physically engaged in offering services to each other. Okay, I cook, I clean, I go work. That's on one level. But many instances you will see a couple having extramarital affairs despite doing all of this properly. In other words, the time when you can say they are 100% chaste to the relationship is not just when they act on a physical level, but also on mental level, intellectual level. And the more one is focused with their mind on the likes and dislikes of the partner, on the comfort of the partner, the more one is considered chaste in the relationship. Same thing holds true in our relationship with Shri Radha Gopinath as well. We can mechanically pick up the beads and chant. We can mechanically sit in the class. We can mechanically sit in Vyasasan and preach also. We can mechanically sing. We can do everything mechanical. But the real test comes. Imagine Radha Gopinath gives us a grain of sand at the end of the day every day. This is how much bhakti you have performed. How many of you are confident you will get 100% gold coins? 50%? 5.01? It cannot go any lesser than this. No, Radha Gopinath is very merciful. So, we have to try 100% from our side. But just because Krishna gives us the concession, it doesn't mean we should take undue advantage of it. Swalpam apese dharmasya. Even if somebody does very, very tiny part, one can protect oneself from the most dangerous type of fear. We come across verses like that. But if we want to understand Krishna, we have to go through his own instructions. Etavad janma shafalyam dehinam iha dehishu praner arter diya vacha shreya acharanam tada. Shreya acharanam sada. Sada means always. Krishna is not just asking us just to visit the temple. 4 things he is asking. Praner, arther, diya, vacha. One should give one's life. Arther, one should give one's wealth. Diya, one should give one's intelligence. Vacha, one should use one's words. What else is left of you if you give all of this? Literally everything Krishna is asking. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namashkuru. Again. So many verses you will see Krishna, he states this very openly. But the more we pretend and the more we selectively pick and choose, to that extent, we will find reciprocation wanting. We are not sure whether Krishna is accepting our reciprocation, Krishna is accepting our love and reciprocating with us or not. But then if you want to quantify our progress, it's very easy. Prabhupada says, if somebody wants to know how much they are progressing, Bhakti Pareshanubhava Virakti Ranyetra Chaisa, to see how much you are getting distaste from materialistic sense enjoyment. You don't need to be a devotee to realize that. Everyone will actually understand. Otherwise, why are so many divorces happening, even outside devotee community? Why are people changing jobs, even outside devotee community? It has got nothing to do with devotion. Everyone knows at what point it's actually starting to get a little stale and people just move on. With everything. Can be car, can be home, can be relationship, can be, you name it. Country, people change countries. So it just takes a little honesty from our side. We are energy of the Lord, and just like how Lakshmi ji is Chanchala, she always feels comfortable only being engaged in the service of the Lord. Similarly, we are also energy of the Lord, superior to even Durga Devi's Shakti. Can you believe that? When I read that first time, I was shocked. What? We are Tatastha Shakti. Tatastha Shakti is more greater than even external energy of the Lord. We are superior to external. Of course, inferior to internal energy, but superior to external energy. Correct? There is 3 ranks. First rank is internal energy. Third rank is external energy. And your rank is what? Tatastha means in between. Definitely that means we are superior, correct? This is one question Vidura asks, you will see later. He asks, how is this possible? Because by constitutional position, Tatastha Shakti is supposed to be superior than Durga Devi, correct? If that being the case, how can we ever come under illusion? Illusion is Durga Devi's. Avarnatmika, Prakshepatmika. When we talk about illusion, there are 2 aspects to it. Avarnatmika means covering potency. Prakshepatmika means pulling potency. It's just like, sometimes you walk in the dark, someone just puts a piece of cloth around your head. You can't see anything. That's covering potency. And then they pull you down. This is what Durga Devi does. Despite us being superior to external energy, how can we ever come under the influence of the external energy? That's the question Vidura asks. And the answer he gets is, yes, normally it's not possible. Because by definition we are superior to external energy. However, by Krishna's arrangement anything is possible. The order was flipped. Because that's what we wanted to enjoy. If we have to enjoy away from Krishna, there is a certain level of illusion that's needed. Just like if you want to go enjoy a magic show, as a magician you can't really enjoy that, correct? You need some illusion to be able to enjoy. Ignorance is little bliss there. But you are also a magician. In fact, there are expert magicians who create magic for other magicians also. And if such a person goes and watches the show, there is no excitement because they know exactly what's coming next. So normally it's not possible. However, by Krishna's arrangement is possible. We wanted to enjoy away from Krishna. We want to forget Krishna. So Krishna temporarily he just changed the order. So that for the duration of however long we want to enjoy, we can be under illusion. Can you believe illusion was our choice? Nobody forced it upon us. Nobody thrusted it down our throat. We took it ourselves. 100% Adhyatmik Lasha. So as energy of the Lord, we have to find ways, because Krishna is clearly setting the standard. Praner, Arther, Diya, Vacha. So whatever services that we do, we need to put our whole heart in it. Krishna says, Mayeva mana adatsva, Mai buddhim niveshayaha. Mana, Krishna is saying, give me your mind, give me your intelligence also. This particular verse has a very special significance in Sri Vaishnavism. There was a great Acharya who was Paramaguru of Ramanujacharya. His name is Yamunacarya. Yamunacarya, when he was a small boy, he joins a Gurukul when he was 5 years old. When he was about 12 years old, his guru's name is Bhashyacharya. Bhashyacharya was once challenged by another guru or another philosopher by name Kolahala, and his guru gets defeated by him. So the condition which the king has put is, whoever is defeated by Kolahala, who happened to be one of a very respected member of his assembly, he says, whoever gets defeated by him, they are supposed to pay tax to Kolahala. Can you believe? Yearly tax. For what? For losing in an argument. So every year he is supposed to do. So one day Bhashyacharya goes out. Yamunacarya, still a little boy, he is now grown up. He is 12 years old. Kolahala's disciples come and they insult his guru. Where is Bhashyacharya? How impudent of him not to pay the yearly tax. Last year he didn't pay, now we have come to collect everything. When Yamunacharya, when he hears the insult of his guru, he starts to roar like a lion. He insults them back. Who is that impudent guru who didn't even teach you properly how to behave? What kind of a guru is he? And then he says, the reason why my guru didn't get into debate, he just accepted defeat. He didn't want to waste his time. And that's how he comes to be known as being defeated by Kolahala. He says the reason why my guru didn't even enter into the competition was he felt the opponent to be no better match than for one of his low class disciple, which is me. And if your guru wants, I am ready for debate. Then he sends the message back. He goes, this is mercy. Somehow accidentally I threw, it came out, came back again. Radha Gopinath ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So he says, so he goes back, relays the message. Now Kolahala gets angry. And then he tells the king that I am ready to debate with this boy. Then the disciples come back asking Yamunacharya, come for the debate. Yamunacharya says, now he takes a slightly different stance and he tells him, you see, I am not going to debate an ordinary personality. He is great Kolahala, one of the most treasured gems in the assembly of Pandya king. If you want somebody to debate with him, then that position's stature also should be equal. So go back to the king and ask him to send me a palanquin. Then he goes back, relays the message, they bring one palanquin with all the bards, they are singing his glories, and Yamunacharya sits on that and then he goes to the assembly. And when the debate was about to happen, this happens in Pandya kingdom in South India. Pandya kingdom is in Madurai. In about like 1000 years ago, South India was ruled primarily by 3 major dynasties or group or clan of warriors. Cholas, Cheras and Pandyas. Cholas are more in Tanjavur. Cheras are more in Kerala. And Pandyas are in Madurai. There is 4th one called Pallavas. They are in Kanchipuram, Mahabalipuram, like that in South India. So this happens in the holy city of Madurai. So when the debate was about to start, at that time Pandya king and his wife, they both are very keenly observing because they knew that Kolahala no doubt was a very great philosopher, but he was very proud. He was very senior in age, very experienced in age, but still somehow the queen felt this boy will win this debate. So she turns towards the king and she says, I'm pretty sure this boy will win this debate. And I'm so confident that I'm happy to go even for a wager. If he loses, then I'll become the servant of your maidservant. This is the words of the queen to the king. And the king looked at her, smiled, and he said, that's a big wager. I will do something to match it. He says, if the boy wins, I will give half of my kingdom. And now scene turns towards the debate. Initially, Kolahala starts to put forth questions on grammar. Yamunacarya again has a 12-year-old boy. He defeats it, or he answers it very effortlessly, and he tells him, don't insult me looking at my age. If in your understanding only somebody who is more elder has to be more intelligent, then with that logic, a water buffalo should be more intelligent than you because it lives longer than you. He insults him back. Kolahala, infuriated, he says, you impudent boy, I'm done with my questions, you ask me. And then this little boy, he asks 3 questions. He rather says, I will put forth 3 propositions. If you can refute them, then I'll accept defeat. So he says, all right, first proposition. Proposition means it's a statement, conclusion you make, and the opponent is supposed to refute it. They are supposed to challenge back. So the first statement he puts is, your mother is not a barren woman. Now if you have to refute, then Kolahala has to justify why his mother is a barren woman, which cannot be true. Why? Because otherwise he couldn't have come to be born. The very fact he is her son means his mother is not barren. But that's the argument he puts forth. Your mother is not barren. Refute that. Then Kolahala gets confused. Yamunacharya then pushes forth. Next, he says, if you don't have any answer for that, here is my second proposition. The king is supremely righteous and virtuous. Righteous, he says. Refute that statement. Now, how can anyone dare to argue that? Actually, you know what? King is not right. He is supposed to prove like that. He says, I don't know. Then he goes back one even more further. He pushes the cover and then he tells him, my third proposition is, the queen is not as faithful and as chaste as Savitri. Savitri is a personality. If you read Mahabharata, it's given Satyavan Savitri. The background of that narration comes in Vanaparva when Yudhishthir Maharaj, he was once visited by Markandeya Rishi. So Yudhishthir Maharaj asks him a lot of questions. One of the questions he asks is, oh my dear Rishi, have you come across any other woman whose devotion is as great and matches that of Draupadi's? Then in response to that question, Markandeya Rishi starts to narrate an ancient story about history of Savitri. Savitri was born as the daughter of a great king. In fact, the king does penance in order to get 100 sons, worshipping Savitri, who is eternal consort of Brahma. So when he prays, Goddess Savitri comes and she gives him the boon. You will get 100 sons, but not directly, you will get through your daughter. So to honor this goddess, he named his daughter as Savitri. Savitri grew to be a very beautiful young girl, and when the time came for her marriage, nobody could dare to come and ask her hand. She was super qualified. Even the princes, they were quite scared to come and ask her hand. So the father, being worried, he asks the daughter, you can go on a golden chariot accompanied by our army and choose your husband. And she goes, she comes back, and when she comes back, she sees her father greeting and worshipping Narada Muni. So she walks into the assembly and she says, Father, I found a suitable husband for myself. His name is Satyavan. Now Satyavan's background is, his father was blinded, his father had lost his kingdom. He was born and brought up in a forest. Even though he was a prince, he had no kingdom to rule, no citizens to look after, no wealth to enjoy. He had a simple life of a forest dweller. The king was worried. He has nothing. But when Narada Muni revealed about his future, the king was even more worried. Narada Muni says, this boy you have chosen, he is destined to die in a year from today. But Savitri said, I have fixed my mind on him. He is my husband. If I don't get, then I won't marry. I'll stay unmarried. Then Narada Muni encourages her father to agree to the marriage. They both are married. Time rolls by. Savitri gives up all her pleasures as a princess, wears the bark of a tree, wearing red garments, goes to the forest, stays in her husband's home, and she serves him faithfully. And when the fateful day comes, on that day, they both were actually going to the forest to chop wood. Satyavan says, I feel a little tired. Can I sleep keeping my head on your lap? To which Savitri agrees. And as he is sleeping with his head on her lap, Yamaraj comes. And he says, time is up, arrests his soul, and he takes the soul. Savitri follows Yamaraj, and along the way she starts to speak on different aspects of dharma. It pleases Yamaraj so much that he turns towards Savitri and he says, ask for a boon, except for the life of Satyavan. That's the condition. Then first boon she asks is, I want my father-in-law's eyesight to be restored. He says, Tatastu, granted. And then she continues to speak. Again Yamaraj becomes pleased and he says, ask for one more boon. May the kingdom of my father-in-law be given back to him. He says, Tatastu, granted. Continues. Again she continues to speak. This time Yamaraj becomes so pleased and he turns towards her, I have never come across anyone as intelligent as you. Ask for a boon. She thinks for a moment and she says that, may I be blessed with 100 sons fathered by Satyavan. Then Yamaraj looks at her, smiles and he says, nice try. And he gives only the first half of the boon, which is, you will be the mother for 100 sons. He continues to walk. Savitri, again she continues to speak and then she says, much more nuances of dharma. Yamaraj becomes so elated. Such a devoted personality, because understanding nuances of dharma is not easy. Krishna himself says, Kim karma kim akarmeti, kavaya api atra mohitaha. Even the great personalities get bewildered to understand what is karma and what is akarma. Understanding the nuances of dharma, even more complicated. Yamaraj turns and he says, I am so pleased with you, ask for a boon. In his elation, he forgets to add the clause, except for the life of Satyavan. She catches the momentary lapse, she jumps in and she says, I want the life of my husband restored. And then Yamaraj says, okay. And then he blesses both of them to live for a long life. This is Savitri. Now coming back to the three propositions. First proposition is, your mother is not barren. Refute that. Second is, the king is not righteous. Third proposition is, or rather, the king is righteous. Third proposition is, the queen is chaste and faithful like Savitri. You have to refute it. You have to prove that statement wrong. Now Kolahala, he gets infuriated when he hears these three questions, starts to shout and yell at this boy, saying, you have said something which is an insult for the king and the queen. I can't answer any of your questions because I can be put in prison. Of course, nobody can answer these questions. When he says that, there is a section of the assembly who had sympathized with Yamunacarya and they say, no, you should follow the rules of this game, you should answer. Then Kolahala says, okay, I don't know the answer. And then he challenges Yamunacharya back. It's not just enough you ask me questions which I can't. Now you are supposed to refute these three propositions yourself, otherwise you will be sentenced to death, because what you have said is very dishonoring for the king and queen. First proposition, he says, Yamunacharya says, all right, I will refute. Your mother is not barren. How can I refute? He says, according to Manu Samhita, if a woman is blessed with one child, she is still considered barren. More than one child only is considered to be not barren. So he says, there is a reference here. So according to Manu Samhita, your mother is still barren because you are the only child of your mother. Second proposition, he says, the king is righteous. Yes, it's very true, our king is very virtuous. He never goes astray from the path of dharma. Nevertheless, if the citizens of the kingdom, they do good deeds, the king will take 1/6 of the punya of all the citizens. Converse is also true. If the citizens indulge in adharmic acts, if the citizens indulge in bad activities, bad deeds, there is some sin that comes, the king has to take 1/6 of that sin. And Yamunacharya looks at Kolahala and he says, we live in Kali Yuga. What do you think people indulge in more? Papa or punya? He says Papa. That means even though the king is very righteous himself, but because he has to suffer or enjoy 1/6 of the karma of his citizens, because it's Kali Yuga, there's always more sins than punya. So the king's position will always be compromised, unfortunately, because of the sinful deeds of his citizens. And then he says, oh, this is what Manu Samhita says, so the king can never be 100% righteous. And then he says, finally, according to the laws of Manu, a king, Prabhupada mentions here, even in today's verse also it's there, that Prithu Maharaj, he is a plenary portion, expansion of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and his consort Archi, she is expansion of Goddess of Fortune. So for the third proposition, he says that a king is the representative not only of the people, but he is the representative of 8 principal demigods. Naradeva, it's given. This is one word that's used to describe about king. Nara means humans, Deva means God. Naradeva means technically God among humans. That's the title that's given to kings. And then again he quotes from laws of Manu, and he says a king is a representative of 8 principal demigods: Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Vayu, Surya, Agni, Yama, Kuvera. These are 8 principal demigods. They guard also different directions. So when the queen married the king, it's not just the king she married, but actually in effect married these 8 demigods as well. So this is how he, so that means she is not chaste, married to only one person, she married to 8 other demigods. So he argues like that. When he defeats his own proposition that way, everyone present there, they roar in approval that he had indeed defeated Kolahala. And true to the Veja, before the whole debate started, the king gives half of his kingdom to him. And the queen, in jubilation, she chants Alavandara, Alavandara, like that. Alavandar means one who has come to conquer the pride of Kolahala. So then he comes to be known as Alavandar. Now suddenly this 12-year-old boy from Gurukula, he is now the king of half the kingdom. He is the king. Now because he has become a Kshatriya, at that time the neighboring nations, countries, they thought this is a good time. He is after all a 12-year-old boy. It's a good time to go conquer this kingdom and annex it. Thinking that way, they waged the war. But he was one step ahead. He anticipated that. He readied his army. He defeated them, annexed theirs with his. So suddenly now he is not a king of just half the Pandya kingdom. He got a much, much bigger area to cover. And from studying Shastras, being in Gurukul, focusing on Bhakti, he got slightly distracted. Because of kingly duties, kingly pleasures, constantly kingdom in threat of being conquered by people from all directions, he also started to go on a campaign. In this way, he started to spend time. His grandfather grew worried about him. His grandfather's name is Nadamuni. He was a great devotee of the Lord. So Nadamuni was a guru himself. He tells to one of his disciples, Ram Mishra, that he was a very, very good devoted boy, but because of this he got distracted. Please bring him back to the path of bhakti. And then when Nadamuni leaves his body, goes back to the spiritual world, now Ram Mishra took upon himself to somehow bring Alavandar back to where he belongs. So every day he would go to the palace of the king, and he knew getting his audience is very difficult. So he goes through the back door, he goes to the kitchen, and every day he would give a type of spinach called Tuduvalai. It's available even now in South Indian markets, I'm pretty sure. In Flemington, if you search, you will get it. Tuduvalai, Vallarai. Vallarai is the spinach people eat for increased memory power. Tuduvalai for similar reasons. It gives you a lot more spiritual acumen to understand spiritual topics. So he gives the spinach to the cook and he goes. The cook prepares them, gives it to the king. King starts to eat. He loves that every day and he says, please bring this as a regular dish. So the cook was bringing. Till now, Ram Mishra hasn't met the king. One day Ram Mishra stops. He didn't take the spinach to him. King was desperately searching. Where is that spinach? And then the cook says, sorry my lord, the person who usually brings didn't bring. He didn't come today. Who is the person? Then he says, I don't know, he looked very saintly. Did you pay him? He says, no, he just brings him out of his love for you. Tomorrow when he comes or whenever he comes next, please bring him to me. And Ram Mishra goes next day because he knew he's going to get the audience. Next day when he goes, he brings him to the king and Alavandar tells him, who are you? You are showering such selfless love upon me. Then he says, my lord, I am the disciple of your grandfather Nadamuni. He has entrusted a treasure with me to give you. And then the king becomes very happy because he was preparing for another campaign and he needs a lot of wealth. So he tells him, you couldn't have come at a better time. Please take me to that treasure. And then Ram Mishra tells him that treasure is kept in a very sacred place within 7 walls, surrounded by 2 rivers, guarded by a serpent and mantra. There was even a demon, or there is even a demon who comes and inspects the treasure once every 12 years. And to go there, you and me alone can do. And my lord, I want you to come with me because it's a very secretive thing and I want to finish my duty to give. Please don't even bring any of your entourage, supporters, army men. So the king agrees and he says, come on, without delay, let's go because I need the wealth for the military campaign. So he goes with them. And then every day Ram Mishra would start to recite shlokas from Bhagavad Gita. As Alavandar was hearing these verses every day, slowly the memories of his childhood when he was actually spending time in Gurukul, the time when he was totally devoted to the Supreme Lord, slowly sprang up in his mind. He started to cry. Where did I start? Why did I end up here? I have forgotten the Lord. And then seeing him having a change of heart slowly, Ram Mishra suggests, my lord, if you really want, maybe we can stay here for a week and we can just study Bhagavad Gita together. To which Alavandar agrees. So they both start to recite. For 1 whole week, Ram Mishra gives him instructions on Bhagavad Gita. And at the end of the 7th week, he mentions this particular verse, which I mentioned earlier. I said that to gain your attention. Wake up if you have slept till now. If you're wondering where this story is going, Etu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upashate teshamaham samudarta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami nachirat partha maya veshita chetasham Mayeva manadatsva mayi buddhim niveshayah nivashishyashi mayeva ata urdhvam na samshayah. He says, Mayeva manadatsva. Krishna is telling to Arjuna, Etu sarvani karmani mayi sanyasya matparaha. One who sarvani karmani, one who gives up all other activities except devotional service to me. Ananye naiva yogena, being connected with me. Ananya naiva. Anya means others. Ananya means nothing else but exclusive. Ananya naiva yogena. One who is exclusively devoted to me, connected with me in bhakti yoga, giving up all other activities except those in connection with me. Mam dhyayanta upashate. To worship me, you can come inside, you can sit. Worshipping me. Mam dhyayanta upashate. Meditating on me. Tesham aham samudarta. To such a person, terms and conditions apply. One who gives up all other activities, engaging in the service of the Lord, being connected with the Lord, meditating on the Lord, worshipping the Lord. Mam dhyayanta upashate. Tesham aham samudarta. To them I become the deliverer. Samudarta means deliverer. Mrityu samsara sagarat. From where am I delivering? From this ocean of birth and death. Bhavami na chirat partha. Chirat means with delay. Na chirat means immediately. In other words, I will become the swift deliverer of such a person. Mam dhyayanta upashate. And then he says, Maya veshita chetasam mayeva manadatsva. Oh my dear Arjuna, please fix your mind upon me. Mayi buddhim niveshayah. Engage your intelligence to understand me. Engage your intelligence to do the service for me. Mayeva manadatsva. Mayi buddhim niveshayah. Nivashishyashi mayeva. If you do this, you will come and live with me. Ata urdhvam na samshayah, without any doubt. When Alavandar hears this, he starts to beat his head with both the hands, crying out loud, Alas, alas, I have wasted my life. And then he falls at the feet of Ram Mishra and he says, You have opened my eyes. I don't want whatever wealth, treasure my grandfather has given you. Please accept me as your disciple. So this is the verse that transformed Alavandar to Yamunacarya. So when he says that, Ram Mishra embraces him, accepts him as his disciple, and he says, My Lord, I have given this word to my Guru, which is your grandfather, that I will give the treasure to you and I have to give that to you. Then he takes him to Srirangam. Srirangam temple is surrounded by 7 walls. And it is on an island surrounded by Kaveri river. And he takes him in front of Lord Ranganath. Ranganath is on reclining pose, in Shayana pose, on top of Anantasesh. That's how he says it's guarded by a serpent. And he gives him the mantra, Om Namo Narayanaya. By chanting the holy name of the Lord, one gets the qualification, vision to see the Lord, to deal with the Lord, to connect with the Lord. What about the demon? Vibhishan, he comes there even now once every 12 years to offer his respects. Vibhishan is also given as one of the Chiranjeevis. And then he brings him to Ranganath. And then Yamunacharya, from that point, he is already converted. He doesn't go back to his kingdom. From there he passes a degree, gets his countrymen or his ministers. He says, divide my kingdom into 2, give 1/2 back to the Pandya king, and the other half, he writes it as the property belonging to Lord Ranganath. So as energy of the Lord, when we think We need to understand that Krishna has created us for a purpose. Just like when it comes to Lakshmi ji, it's very easy to relate. When it comes to Durga Devi, easy to relate. But when it comes to us, somehow we don't even consider thinking ourselves in relation to the Lord. We think I have my choice. I can do whatever that I like. I have to go to temple. Today is New Year. Okay, I'll go to temple. Today is long weekend. I'll go to temple. We put what is main dish as the side dish. But then when we make our way here somehow, even if we are regularly coming, Krishna, if we want a reciprocation from him, we have to put our 100%. We cannot actually hold back anything because Krishna is an all-demanding, hard task master when it comes to love. He demands love at all levels. Praner, Arther, Diya, Vacha. Mayeva, Mana, Adatsva. And if in a relationship, one constantly thinks of the other person, what could be a greater expression of love than putting the other person as the object of one's meditation? I gave you a converse example, wherein if there's a husband and wife, they have extramarital affair, physically they may be in one place, but mentally they have already given to somewhere else. You are where your mind is. Your energy flows where your mind goes. Correct? Our karma is performed where the mind is. So when we practice bhakti, bhakti has to be practiced holistically, not just mechanically. Mechanically is a good starting point, definitely. But we need to go deeper. Mayeva mana adatsva. Mai buddhim. One's mind, one's intelligence, one's whole life has to be dedicated, has to be in connection with the Supreme Lord. Then we can say, yes, I am the energy of the Lord. Then we will get every grain of sand converting to gold coin. Then we will also get reciprocation from the Supreme Lord, as much as any pure devotee gets. Prabhupada says in one place, I'll finish at this point, Prabhupada says in one place that don't think the opportunity that's given to Yashoda Maharani, the opportunity that's given to Subhadra Maharani, it's only for them. That same opportunity is available for you too. Question is, are we qualifying ourselves? Or are we doing our bhakti as yet another thing? Yeah, I go to gym, I go for walking, I go watch a movie, I go to temple. Or are we keeping our bhakti yoga in that platform? So the more we exclusively focus on Krishna, the more we dedicate ourselves. Anyway, we have chosen the path of practicing bhakti. Might as well do it fully. Without holding back, without underperforming. We'll come across these match fixing allegations. They may not have worked against the team, but some allegations you will see they have underperformed because everyone assesses the potential of the person, normally how they perform versus that particular time when spot fixing or match fixing happened, how they performed. So they deliberately underperformed and they get banned for next few years. It has happened. Cricket players, football players. We should not be underperforming in bhakti. We should not hold back thinking, wishful thinking many times. That sour grapes story Prabhupada says. In childhood, how many of you have read sour grapes and fox story in childhood? There was a fox that was trying to reach out to a grapes, tried so many ways, couldn't reach, and finally just to get out of the guilt, it says, oh, these grapes anyway they are sour, and it walked away. So we always stay in our comfort zone saying that, oh, anyway, I'm not qualified. I always challenge that viewpoint by saying, but I don't see the same humility in front of Mahaprasad. Who told you that you are qualified to take Mahaprasad? No, we need to be consistent. Who told us that we deserve mercy? When it comes to asking Krishna's mercy, how many of us will dare forget about Kunti Maharani's prayer? May all the challenges come back to me again and again. Oops, sorry Krishna, I didn't mean that. We don't. Correct? Forget about that. How many of us will dare to offer this prayer? Oh Krishna, please give me only what I deserve. How many of you? No. Krishna, I do a lot of mistakes. I will do it properly in future. Please forgive all of that. Even if I have said anything wrong, forget it. But you know the intention of my desire, what exact desire I actually said. Sometimes you try to describe and then you run out of words and you say, anyway Krishna, you know what I wanted to ask. How many of you have offered that prayer? Yeah. We are very limited. Say, same psychology for all of us. We do that. When it comes to expecting from Krishna, we see how much concession we want. But when it comes to offering something to Krishna, look at how much we are holding back. That's the reason why we are getting more sand till now. How many of you love more gold coins? If Radha Gopinath gives, some are like, I don't know, is that material? I'm doing some fundraising here, please desire. We have to rebuild the temple. So as energies of the Lord, we have to understand that we are meant for His pleasure. This energy should not be wasted. Time of this energy should not be wasted. Focus of this energy should not be wasted. And if we focus our energy like that, then Krishna will carry what we like. Wherever we fall short, Krishna will more than make up for it. I'll stop here. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Sri Sri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan ki, Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki, Sri Sri Gaur Nitai ki, Samaved Gaur Bhakta Vrind ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki.